Hey, honey.
Yes, Barry?
Let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I am your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. And maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos beach, and then there's the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we will be visiting with our friends Kathleen and Todd Atkins. They are from Lix Homemade Ice Cream. It's been years since we've had a chance to chat with this crazy couple spreading sweetness throughout Puerto Vallarta. We're going to be talking about their locations and much more. Then we will go to our latest open microphone meet and greet that we had on the 4th of July, where we were pretty fortunate. We had Ada and Stefan from Living Simply in Mexico, one of my favorite YouTubing couples and channels. Anyway, they dropped in and they filled us in on what's happening in their new big home in Puerto Vallarta. It's literally been years since they've been on the show. So Ada and Stefan will be joining us this episode. But before we get to Ada and Stefan and Todd and Naomi, and I just got back from Puerto Vallarta. We recorded a lot of interviews. So let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, the 27th of July, 2023. It is hot in Puerto Vallarta, and tourism-wise, it's a bit dead. But hey, leave it to our friend Edgar Rivas. He is the food event promoter extraordinaire that we've had on the show many times, and he's got the Ceviche and Aguachile Festival. The 14th edition is coming up, as a matter of fact, this weekend, Saturday, July the 29th. And I've got from his post in the Facebook pages, he writes, "If you love seafood, you can't miss the Festival del Ceviche y Aguachile PV. It's the 14th edition, so get ready to try the best ceviches and aguachiles in town, presented by 12 different local restaurants. Join us at Parque Hidalgo, downtown Puerto Vallarta, to live this gastronomic experience. It will be from 12 o'clock until 8 o'clock p.m. Entrance is free. You just pay for your food and your drinks. There will be live music shows, craft beer, and cocktails. And so there you have it. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure, right there in the Cinco de Diciembre neighborhood over in Hidalgo Park. And remember, it's from noon until 8 in the evening, and it's the Ceviche and Aguachile Festival. It is the 14th edition. Imagine that. I think that I probably have announced each and every one of Edgar's festivals, the tacos and the aguachiles and, all that stuff. So anyway, if you've been to any of his events, you know that they're really good. It's going to be hot, but I'm sure there's going to be some shade over in Hidalgo Park. Go check it out. Now, for those of you who have taken the trip from El Tuito to the beaches, down to Maito or to Tehuamixtle, Now, we've done that a couple times on the show over the years. And if you don't know, or if you do know, if you don't have a car or a driver, you take a bus from the romantic zone to El Tuito, and then you look around for a taxi driver who will take you the rest away to the beach, and then you arrange with that driver the return trip to pick you up, and then he comes back, picks you up, takes you back to El Tuito. Then you grab the bus back to Vallarta from El Tuito, and of course you got to make sure that you catch the one before the final bus leaves El Tuito. And I think that service goes until about 6:30 in the evening, and then it's done. And then you either have to stay in Tuito for the night, or find a cab that'll take you home, or a park bench or something like that. But anyway, now they have a bus that will take you to the beach from El Tuito, and this is from the Delegación Municipal Maito, their Facebook page. It reads, to the entire general population, they are informed that from Monday the 26th of this month, now this was written back in June, by the way, it continues, public transport service will begin to be provided. It says departing from Tuito at 7 in the morning and then returning at 4 p.m. from Monday until Sunday with the following rates. It says here to Tehuamixle it's 85 pesos, to Maito it's 80, and to Villa del Mar it is 100 pesos, and Llano Grande 50 pesos. Children under 12 years old, tickets are half price. It continues to say that the service will be for the benefit of all the inhabitants of Cabo Corrientes. So, very interesting. I did not get a chance to try out the new bus this time down, and the hours of operation, I don't know, is a little bit restrictive, if you ask me. Anyway, it will be interesting to see if the residents of Cabo Corrientes will use the service. The last time I used a cab to go to and from El Tuito to Maito, it cost me about 600 pesos each way. So there is a good-sized cost difference, but that is unless you're a group of 4 adults, for example, sharing the cost of a cab. The big question is, will I, as a tourist, be welcome to use the public bus to go down to Tehuamixle or to Maito? Seeing that I might be taking up a seat that might be designated for a resident of Cabo Corrientes. So, just so that I can pay less, and then maybe making it harder for a local to enjoy a day at the beach. It's not, and you got to think about that. Plus, the possibility of my missing that last bus back to El Tuito, and then having to scramble for another mode of transportation to get myself back. Or maybe that last bus back will be so packed that I might not be able to get on the bus. So anyway, time will tell if they keep the program going and how well it works. And if any of you have taken that new bus down, let me know. Drop me an email and let me know what your experience was. Send it, of course, to pvtravelshow@gmail.com. And then I'll share it with the listeners here. I'd like to know, what's going on if you've been down there, and I'd like to know what happened firsthand to you. Also, I have embedded into the show notes that Facebook page that talks all about the new bus. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on there now. My wife and I, like I said, we just returned from a couple of weeks in Paradise, so I have a couple of reports to share with you. First of all, if you are arriving as a passenger, as a tourist, there are some changes. First of all, not only have they eliminated the FMM paperwork, that tourist card that you used to fill out on the plane, or when you were standing in line going through the immigration line, they also eliminated the customs declaration form. So when you get to the customs line after you've picked up your luggage, There are going to be employees. They're going to be asking you if you got any fresh fruit, you got any sandwiches, you got any strawberries, you got any veggies, all that stuff. And if you do, they'll take it right away from you. And then when you get to that red light, green light thing, they basically eliminated that too, because what they're doing is they're making everybody run their luggage through the X-ray machine. So the tourist card is gone now. The customs declaration paperwork gone. And now, finally, years after they reported, and I reported, that they were going to be phasing out that red light, green light push button thing, it looks like finally they're just going to phase it out by having everybody run their stuff through the X-ray conveyor belt. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot of changes, Barry. And yeah, there are, but there's more. For example, if you're a smoker, that smoking area that I spoke about a couple weeks ago, near the departure door, near the magic trash cans, now they have no smoking signs where they used to have like ashtrays, and they removed those ashtrays. But here's the deal: if you continue walking down that sidewalk away from the terminal, you're going to see a new pet potty area, and it's a place that you can take Fido to relieve Fido, and you can smoke a cigarette at the same time, it seems. And they have the ashtray set up right there, at least for now. So if you're a smoker, you can get some relief from your nicotine habit while you enjoy the smell of doggy urine rising from the hot AstroTurf, baking in the tropical sun. Yes, it's wonderful. It's a jungle out there, folks. By the way, as far as the smoking ban in Mexico is concerned, there was a victory for the Mexican Restaurant Association lately in court. This is from the Vallarta Reporter Online. Reads, Restaurant Association wins exemption from anti-smoking law. This is dated July 18th, 2023. National Restaurant Association has obtained a definitive suspension against federal anti-smoking law that went into effect on January the 15th, banning smoking in public open spaces. The general law for tobacco control explicitly prohibits people from smoking in certain outdoor public spaces, such as parks, and restricts restaurants from serving food or beverages in designated smoking areas. According to the news site Expansión, restaurants reported a 30% decrease in consumption due to the law's implementation. Under the law, anyone who smokes in prohibited areas can be subject to fines of up to 10,374 pesos, or $551 U.S., or be detained for up to 36 hours. Ouch! Restaurants not in compliance can suffer economic sanctions or face temporary or permanent closure. A collegiate court in administrative matters granted the Restaurant Association the suspension on Thursday, protecting the association's members' restaurants from the law's effect. The chamber argued that its statutes give it the power to defend, represent, and promote the interests of the restaurant industry. Under the terms of the suspension, restaurants can demonstrate their affiliation to that association and that currently have an operating license to comply with the tobacco use regulations prior to the reform, can serve food and beverages in authorized smoking areas according to the provisions that existed before the decree went into effect. Rather than protecting non-smokers, the association argued the law generates prohibitions and restrictions that limit human rights, forcing restaurants and other establishments to discriminate and deny customer service. The established regulatory system before the decree complied with the purposes of the decree in a way that is less restrictive of other rights, they emphasized. There have been a wave of lawsuits by businesses arguing that the new restrictions negatively impact their operations However, civil society and consumer advocacy groups have argued that the law should be upheld. And I have a link to that article from the Vallarta Reporter online in the show notes. Of course, if you aren't subscribed to them, it will take you to a little page that says, hey, subscribe, pay. And hey, you don't have to because I just told you what was in that. But they wanted to make sure to keep matters totally confusing. The Mexican way, of course, keep everything up in the air. So 3 days later, this comes up in the Vallarta Reporter. This is July 21st. Health sector urges restaurants to maintain anti-smoking measures. Despite the fact that the National Chamber of the Restaurant and Seasoned Food Industry obtained an injunction to indefinitely suspend the decree to reform the regulations of the General Law for Tobacco Control that came into force last January, Dr. Jaime Alvarez Zayas, director of the 8th Health Region, urged establishments to respect the right of people who don't want to be exposed to tobacco smoke. Alvarez warned that tobacco consumption affects people, especially passive smoking. Although each individual has the decision to smoke or not, it is crucial to respect those who do not wish to be exposed to the smoke, regardless of the legal measures in this regard, since the priority is to take care of their health. He declared that in Puerto Vallarta, the Jalisco Commission for the Protection Against Sanitary Risks has not carried out any inspection of compliance with the regulations in restaurants. Therefore, no sanctions have been applied. It is unknown if the Federal Commission for the Protection Against Sanitary Risks visited the establishments. And so there you go. Go ahead. Let me just say, if you're a smoker, please just find a safe place to light up, out of people's way, and just have your way. Just have at it, really. Anyway, I have a link to that particular article again from the Vallarta Reporter online in the show notes. Now, my wife and I spent a little over 2 weeks in Debbie and Ray's casa in PTL, and it was wonderful. Debbie and Ray are Canadian buddies who have a beautiful house in PTL, are now vacationing up with their family up in Canada. And so it was lovely having a place to stay right in the hood. And I recorded some great interviews, which you're going to be listening to over the couple of weeks. And we had a great trip, actually. Now, if you recall our last episode, I said that my oldest son, Zachary, and his fiancée, Aaliyah, they were going to be flying in for a week. And they did. And they arrived on my wife and my 35th wedding anniversary, which was on June the 26th. Their flight was landing at 1 in the afternoon, so Debbie and I hit Mr. Cream's at the marina for breakfast before we head on over to the airport to meet with the kids. And after they arrived, we loaded them and their luggage into a van, and we took them to the Barracuda over in Cinco de Diciembre for lunch. And we waited for their Airbnb to be cleaned up and become available. They were going to be staying up on the hill just above where we were having our lunch there in Cinco de Diciembre. And so we loaded them up into an Uber and we sent them off up to their place. And later on in the day, we met them at Cuaticicuetes for their first Puerto Vallarta sunset. After that, we grabbed a quick cab ride. We went up the hill for a romantic dinner at La Cabela. And we had a beautiful view of the church. The violin music was gorgeous. Fireworks from the Margalante. I mean, it was sad to say. The kids have been ruined for the rest of their lives. How do you get any better than that for the first 6 hours when you arrive in paradise, right? So I got a note from listener Trish. Trish has been on the show Trish was on the show with her husband Chad, and if you are a regular listener to the show, you'll remember that Trish is the lady who likes to jump out of aircraft. And she reached out to me, and she wanted to check on the pricing, how the prices were in Puerto Vallarta. She told me that she's a little bit worried that a couple of her friends went to La Capella, and they ordered 2 entrees and an appetizer and coffees, and the bill came to like $350 Canadian dollars. And so, anyway, I don't know. I don't know what they ordered, but just to give you an idea, as far as the price went for us, the 4 of us, the bill came to about $150 US. Now, there were entrees on the menu that were like $130 each, okay, US. But that was like for like surf and turf and the most expensive things that you would order on a menu. And for me, I ordered the lasagna, which was very good, by the way, but it was not expensive. And my wife ordered a salmon dish, which she wasn't that impressed with, but it was good sized. And we split a salad between us. She had a margarita. She had a shot of tequila. The kids both had pasta dishes. Neither of them drink alcohol, so there was that. And then we ordered, we split a dessert. So the bill was very reasonable. And the experience was top notch. It really was. So actually, come to think of it, we will be talking about La Capella with Stefan and Ada coming up in an interview in just a couple of minutes. So we'll be talking about La Capella. We'll be talking about some other fancy restaurants that they've been to and that they reported on. Now, as it turned out, our kids ran us ragged. I mean, I thought for sure that they'd be like doing stuff on their own. They'd be going, don't bother us. But no, it was the first day, it was the botanical garden. And then the next day, they're all, where do we go now? I'm all, we'll take a bus. We'll go to San Pancho and Sayulita. And so then the next day, where do we go now? It's like, let's go to Camixto. So we got a hold of Super Mario, and boom, we went to Camixto. And the next day, so where do we go now? It's like, don't you guys get tired? Don't you guys get tired of us? So we went up, we took a to Moro Paraíso. By the way, and that's up the Rio. That's up the river, and that's up in past Paso Ancho. It's way up the river. And we talk about strong margaritas. That is a place that you can get some great strong margarita, good, honest margaritas that we've been talking about. They serve them in the fishbowl glass too. So Jeff and Joe from Minnesota Cold, I did stop by the Red Onion, and I did sample their margaritas, and you are right, they are good. I also got a chance to sit with the new sculpture by Jim Dimitro, and he's got this burro. He's got this jackass holding on a margarita, and it's an interactive sculpture. And actually, if you go to the show notes, check out the picture in the show notes, you'll see me sharing a drink and a joint with the donkey. Of course, you can find that in the blog there at www.portovallartatravelshow.com. And Jim, great job. It's a cute sculpture, and it's right in front of Burroughs Bar, by the way. And it's right outside of the balcony of Jim's condo. Jim has a condo at the Plaza Mar, and so all he has to do is look out his window, and he can see his handiwork there on the Malecon. I mean, how nifty is that? That's great. I mean, it's pretty crazy, but if you're going by there, it's a fun little sculpture to sit down and interact with and have somebody take your picture. So check that out for sure. Now, when Debbie and I arrived on the 27th of June, the Rio Quale was totally dry. It was bone dry. I didn't even have a puddle in it. I had never, ever seen it so dry. But luckily, about 3 days into the trip, the rains finally arrived in Puerto Vallarta. And by the time we left town on July the 8th, the rivers, they were flowing again, all of them. The Ameca, the Pitial, the Quale, the Horcones, all of them, right? And right away, almost right away, the hills greened up really nicely. So the danger of the fires, they lessened immensely. And the reservoirs, they're being recharged. And, it's giving some relief to some of those colonias around town that have been, they've been needing to ration their water. They've been having water outages, and they've been having those kind of problems. Their water's been shut off. And next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about the water issues. But for now, the rain is falling. And according to Angela, who's up in the Riviera del Rio area, we are only a third of the way to where we were last year as far as rainfall is concerned to date. So anyway, the kids, my kids, they had a great time. And surprisingly, they leaned on us pretty hard during their trip. And we were very thrilled to give them a first-class tour of paradise. And I think they were a little bit reassured that their parents were going to be ending up in a very fine place when they finally moved to Mexico. When we finally moved to Mexico. Now, getting back to alcoholic beverages, living in Pitial has advantages in that you get to hang with your Mexican neighbors, you get to talk with them and see what their life is like. And Mexicans are really helpful, actually, when it comes to teaching you their ways and the proper pronunciations, by the way, of particular words. And they'll drill it right into you, Anyway, if you've paid any attention at all to the vendors and to the laborers and, the common everyday worker sitting on a bench or on a sidewalk, after a day of work, you'll notice that you will see them cuddling a big bottle of beer. And the slang name of this big bottle of beer is a caguama. It's spelled Caguama, and it's pronounced caguama. And in reality, a caguama is a loggerhead sea turtle. But in Mexico, there is a story behind that. I can maybe tell you that another time. But in Mexico, a caguama can also be a 32 or more likely a 40-ounce bottle of beer, which in the case of the 40-ounce caguama is the equivalent of approximately 3.5 beers, about 1.25 liters, for example. So the type of beer in a caguama, in the caguama-sized bottle, isn't anything special. I mean, it's not like a malt liquor or anything like that. It's basically a half of a six-pack disguised as a bottle of beer. And you know what? It's really a good excuse for when the wife asks you, if you've been drinking, you can honestly say, hey, honey, I just had one beer. Now, living in the hood, staying at Debbie and Ray's casa in Pitial, I felt it was time that I needed to purchase my first caguama so I could feel like one of the gente, one of the people. So I went across the street to their handy nearby deposito, and I ordered me up a Corona, 40-ounce cold caguama, and 45 pesos, or about $2.50 US. And it says right on the label, it says familiar, which means family-sized. So it's really, so in other words, it's really made to split with the wife and the kids, but no, it's not. Anyhow, when I walked that big coldie back to the sidewalk, I sat down in front of the casa. I made like a Mexican, and I consumed that beer leisurely while making small talk with the neighbors. And by the way, when you act like a Mexican, you should always empty that caguama slowly. Keep in mind that the last half of that beer is going to be warm. I mean, you're sitting in the tropical sun, and when you do finish the last of your warm beer, do make sure that you keep that empty bottle for when you buy your next caguama. Anyway, that's the way the Mexicans do it, and I'm sure that they get their deposit back. I was looking forward to mine, but I didn't get one. I'm sure that they do, but I didn't get mine. I was a little bit sore about that. Anyway, a couple notes of interest. Speaking of drinking, I noticed for the first time, now I'm sure that they've been there for a long, long time, but in fact, I asked the taxi driver, and he said, yes, they have been there for a long time, but I saw sobriety checkpoints set up on the weekends. I mean, all the time. Every weekend we drove right there. One was right near the plaza in PTL, and there was another one almost guaranteed that would be set up as you leave the downtown area, as you leave the Cinco de Diciembre neighborhood on Calle Columbia, where all those funeral homes and mortuaries are. And now, of course, a good number of prostitutes hang out there, waiting for a lift out of town. Actually, they began hanging out there since they were shooed away from Calle Bolivia up there, where they built the colonial condos. They kind of shooed the ladies of the night away. They tried to shoo them away. You can still find them up there too. But yeah, so anyway, after you pick up your prostitute and you hang a left, go past the running track, and then you turn right onto the big highway there. There are these sobriety checkpoints. So if you're renting a vehicle, make sure you don't drink and drive at night, especially if you're driving around town on the weekends. They actually seem to be pulling everybody over. Everybody was being asked to be pulled over, except for the taxi drivers. Nobody bothered them. Speaking of taxi drivers, Debbie and I have come to the conclusion that if you need a taxi, do all you can to avoid the CTO, the taxi stop across the street from the Hotel Rosita. These taxistas, these guys, they are a whole different breed. They are different than everybody in town. They're snobs, they're jerks, they overcharge, they're rude, they're unhelpful. And by the way, here's another tip. Because it's summer and it's really, really hot. This is the time of year where it's 4 showers a day hot. That's how hot it is in Vallarta right now. First, we had to ask every cab that we got into if he would turn on the air on. That's number one. That is, when we wanted the air, we asked, would you please? And you had to ask him to do it. But when we summoned an Uber, when we had an Uber come pick us up, they always had the air on. Always. Add the fact that the Uber is generally slightly cheaper than a cab. It kind of makes it a no-brainer, right? Now, speaking of taxis and prostitutes, we were talking about that, weren't we? So Debbie and I, we've been taking lots of taxis back and forth from Ray and Deb's Casa in PTL, back and forth into town. Sometimes we would be 2 or 3 times a day. We're doing interviews and whatnot. And we determined that it would be a better idea to have the taxis drop us off, not in front of Debbie and Ray's house, but close by, where we could be dropped off easily and somewhere away from their place, so that we don't call any attention to a house in a neighborhood that's owned by an American or a Canadian, you know what I mean? So we decided to have the taxistas start dropping us off in front of a local car wash, which is not far from Debbie and Ray's place. Now, we lovingly refer to it as the cartel car wash, and there's a restaurant that's attached to it, and there's places where people can play pinball games, and there's a bar, and then there's hot and cold running girls at night going in and out of this place. And anyway, we have the taxis just drop us off there when we get home, at midnight, right in the middle of that menagerie. They cannot believe it. They ask, they go, here? And we're all, yeah, right here. We had a great time with that trick, I got to tell you. Speaking of great times, let's get to the meet and greet that we had on the 4th of July and the resulting interview that I had with YouTubers and good friends of mine, Ada and Stefan, from the YouTube channel Living Simply in Mexico. Now, when we last spoke, I was packing for this trip to Puerto Vallarta, and I mentioned that we would be having our open microphone meet and greet at Nacho Daddy. We were actually planning on crashing JR's regular meet and greet. He has a meet and greet there every Tuesday. And I checked with Tammy at Nacho Daddy to make sure that there was no special event planned for the 4th of July. And she said, no, there was nothing planned. But then a week later, she sends me a note. She says, hey, sorry, but we're so slow. We're going to be closed. We're going to be closed for the 4th of July. We're going to close for the slow season. So I had to make a last-minute change of venue. And we had the meet and greet, and we celebrated the 4th of July at Restaurant San Lucas instead. Now, speaking of margaritas and in fishbowl glasses, here is where you can get those. Okay, the Restaurant San Lucas, they serve that great, honest margarita. Now, even though we changed the venue at the last minute, we really had a nice group of people show up. We had JR, of course. We needed a Brit to help us celebrate the 4th of July, for goodness sake. And we had listeners and contributors Reggie and Donna from Tennessee. They were there. We had listeners and contributors Gilbert and Chris from Colorado. They were there. And actually, we spent some time trying to talk these two into starting their own YouTube channel. I mean, Chris and Gilbert, they're pretty interesting, and they're handsome, and they're funny, and... let's see, my friend Stephen Tenney, the drummer from Tequila Rush, was there, and Stefan and Ada came down to chat. So, I mean, we had a really good crowd for a rainy 4th of July evening. So anyway, let's go right now to the corner of Insurgentes and Lázaro Cárdenas to one of my very favorite restaurants in Puerto Vallarta, where wonderful, flavorful, and reasonable seafood dishes live, and strong, honest, and ample margaritas in fishbowl glasses creep up on you faster than a warm kawama. Let's go to 355 Lázaro Cárdenas in the romantic zone to the second floor overlooking it all at Restaurant San Lucas, and let's chat with Ada and Stefan from Living Simply in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta. Ada, Stefan, how you doing?
We're here.
Pretty good.
It's always good when we're here.
Absolutely. And Barry fed me a margarita already, so I have to be very careful about what I say today. So I'll be a little bit more silent than usual.
I'll edit. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Very good.
All right. So when last we spoke, and this has been years now.
Yeah.
So when last we spoke, we were overlooking the beautiful Pacific Ocean, the Bahia de Maderas. You had this gorgeous home, and I had to walk up 400,000 steps to get there. and you're doing the YouTube thing. So tell us about, once again, remind everybody about your channel.
Yeah. So we have a channel called Living Simply in Mexico, because when we bought that little house on the hill with 400,000 steps, it was a very rustic, small house, and it really allowed us to appreciate, you don't need very much to have a fantastic time here in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah.
And so we just started documenting, our sort of journey of renovating this house, kind of what it's like to actually buy a house from a local, and going through that process. And then some things have changed over the last couple of years.
Yeah, tell us about it. What's going on?
Yeah, well, you know what? You know what's interesting about when we had the house? We still have that same house too, by the way. And, it was a really good deal at the time. We really enjoyed it. It was more of like a come escape to Puerto Vallarta house. And it was absolutely wonderful. And from that time, we decided that, not only do we want to escape to Puerto Vallarta, but at some point in our lives, we want to live in Puerto Vallarta. And, really the story of how we've moved for the last 5 years is really around, that experience. And we created a YouTube channel just to meet people and have fun. And we created a bit of a following with that. And it's been a lot of enjoyment over the last 5 years.
Yeah, it really started as just more of our own documentation of our process, just to have it somewhere, and it's kind of evolved into a community. And then when we were in the process of making one of our videos, which was what's more romantic, the Romantic Zone or Gringo Gulch, because of course that's where our other house is. We're kind of walking along, and we kind of walked past this nice house that we didn't think anything of. We're like, oh, look, that's for sale. We have another friend who might be interested. And, we make our video, do all that. It's part of the B-roll where we had that little, we kind of showed that. And then a few months later, we kind of start talking about how we want to spend more time down here, for long term, and realizing that the 400,000 steps, we don't mind, but it's like we might be lonely up there because, friends and family and such, not so easy for them to get up there. So we kind of started thinking about, like, hey, that house that we saw, we kind of went back in the video, in our archives and started watching it. Like, we should look into that house. And turns out in October 2021, we closed and got that house. So now we're not living so simply because we kind of ended up, buying something, larger. However, it is part of the overall plan to be able to be down here longer. But in the meantime, we're still doing a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, I think the reality there is, there's no way we were not going to get the house because Ada really enjoyed it, and obviously she's doing some things related to retreats and things of that nature in the house. But the reality is we're still working. We're still working to this day, and we were able to be in Puerto Vallarta because of our work, and so we're still ahead of the game there. At some point we are going to have this lifelong goal to be in Puerto Vallarta full time. And so what's really fascinating to me about this is because Ada, her family, and she mentioned that we have relatives. Her family is actually from Jalisco, and that really ties into the whole effort. And so we had the first house, which was wonderful for us. It really didn't allow us to have the house for her family. And I think one of the videos we did a while back, maybe 2 years ago back, was having Ada's family come visit and be in the house and really enjoy Puerto Vallarta.
And the new house. And that was really that's my favorite episode that I go back and I rewatch. Once again, we did this YouTube channel for us, and I'll watch that episode and laugh out loud, but it's like that's what it was about. That's what we, really intended when we wanted to get something down here a little bit more longer term. But yeah, I think Barry, since I don't remember when we talked last, but I'm a Mexicana. I'm a Mexican citizen now. I got my Mexican citizenship, and
I hear
and
that.
How's
it feel? How's it feel?
It feels, it's kind of cool. You get to go through the short line, coming in.
And the entire family gets to go through the short line.
So.
Yes, really.
Right, that's impressive.
Really, that is impressive.
And I think that's also for permanent residents.
Yeah.
Also can do that as well, which is really cool if you're looking for that.
Okay, very good, very good. So tell us about the house.
Yeah, well, one of the things that drew us to the house, and really what draws us to the Gringo Gulch area, so both, the old house and the new one are both in that same area, is the history. We're kind of historic. We're history freaks. We really enjoy sort of knowing the story behind an area that we're at, and that little part of town. Because in the little what's more romantic, the Romantic Zone or Gringo Gulch. Well, Gringo Gulch won for me, but it's a Guillermo Wolf house. So Guillermo Wolf, of course, was one of the two prominent architects back in the 60s. He actually was the architect for Casa Kimberly, which was Elizabeth Taylor's house, amongst other houses. And so it was kind of cool, like, wow, this house is a piece of Puerto Vallarta history.
Yes, wow.
And we would love to find out, like, who has stayed in that house. Like that's kind of our little mission now, a little bit of sort of going back, and because you're like, somebody knows who stayed here.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, was it the guy that I had on, Johns? He's the one that did wrote a book about the Night of the Iguana, filming of the Night of the Iguana, and he actually did a little bit of research. He was able to kind of dig back into some of these files. So it'd be very interesting. Maybe he could.
Yeah, and I think we read his book actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we may have. I mean, it's interesting, which you can get online, and we've found some really interesting, things online, both from a sort of research standpoint, like because I think University of Guadalajara has done a lot of work on the historical sort of part, and the other prominent architect, Freddie Romero. We actually, of course, his son. He
manages La Capella.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And,
is that right?
Yes, and so we know him pretty well as well. So it's kind of cool having this tie-in to kind of the Puerto Vallarta that sort of got put on the map.
Right.
And,
just to give everybody a little kind of a view, when you're looking out on your porch, what is the view that you get when you're looking out of your house?
The old house was a view of, if you go to La Palapa and you go back to the bathrooms, and there's walls with these panoramic pictures of Puerto Vallarta through the years.
Right.
And I swear to God, those pictures were taken from our first house. It's literally the exact same view we have. So it's this panoramic view of the ocean. The new house, while it's in Gringo Gulch, is on the other side of the hill. So we actually overlook the river and the valley. So it's like the houses are 8-minute walk from each other. So we actually use both houses. Like when we have the family there, we're using both houses at the same time. So, and we just meet. We do all the gathering at the big house.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah. There's one picture we saw of John Houston that looks over the valley. And it looked like it actually came from our house, but I probably was coming from Casa Kimberly originally. But we have like a video of that and a picture of that where it has the same vibe, and for some reason that really resonates with us. To kind of what was it like in 1963 being in Puerto Vallarta, and what's great about Puerto Vallarta to this day, especially in Gringo Gulch, is you can walk around the neighborhood and you can still get that 1963 vibe.
Yeah,
those things, Volkswagen things are still around. And there's so much history in that. In fact,
well, I actually had so one of I'm just FYI, I'm a physical therapist and Pilates teacher. So as Stefan had mentioned earlier, where I wanted to be able to do retreats. So yeah, I've done a couple of retreats, kind of not only doing exercise and Pilates, but also highlighting the cultural aspects. So one of the themes that we had on one I did in February was it was called Romancing Puerto Vallarta. And that was the theme, was we were kind of going back and, eating at these restaurants that are, Casa Kimberly or Hacienda San Angel, or places that actually going down to the botanical gardens, and just like what kind of made people fall in love with this place, looking at the nature and a little bit of that sort of old Hollywood.
Yeah, and what's interesting is Elizabeth Taylor, and obviously there's a lot about her here, and that was a big deal back in the 60s. But what I find interesting are all the people around that were Patasaladas, which are the local Vallartans, and their engagement with Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, and how they interacted and what their lives became to be. I see that as the most interesting of it all, and that gets lost a lot in history.
I lived half a block away from Miss Taylor's house, of Richard Burton's house, right? For many years in Gringo Gulch. And quite honestly, the only reason they built the bridge was because the building on the other side had a swimming pool.
Yes.
And Casa Kimberly didn't have a swimming pool. So rather than walk across the street in their bathrooms, they built a bridge.
Yes.
Which became what was stupidly called a lover's bridge.
So there's a lot of story in that, in other words. Yeah, of course.
There's the other half of the story.
I love it.
There's a lot more about that bridge and the gate and everything. That's more That's more. That's more.
And that's more, and that's all. He says.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yes, it is.
we've met so many people that have been around during that time period, and have those anecdotes. It's really fascinating to see that and to keep that alive. You know, because there's so much more than just the beach tourist attraction here. But there's the Pata Salada culture, and then there's the 60s celebrity aspect of it, and then the people that supported that 60s celebrity aspect of it. I think to me is extremely fascinating.
Very so much. So I'm going to have links to your YouTube channel have them in the show notes. You've been here and you went and you did that kind of tour of these famous places. What was your favorite?
Oh boy, it depends.
Yes, it does. It does.
I mean that's like asking what's your favorite restaurant. It depends, right? Because there's different elements of these places that are attracted to us for different reasons. So when I had this, when we had this retreat, like I said, not only did we visit some of these little historical spots, but we also went down and really appreciated sort of the art, going out at the art walk on a Wednesday night, because, once again, it's sort of like, it's almost the evolution of, these are the things that still bring people down here, that are still attracting people down here, and why people fall in love with it. So they fell in love with it then, they're still falling in love with it now. And so I think my favorite, I like going to Casa Kimberly because it's like the big sister to our house. Because our house, when you go into it, it's sort of like you can see the bones of Casa Kimberly in our house, and that's kind of cool. I also like their margaritas.
Very good. All right.
I will give them a thumbs up on them.
Are we going to add that to our margarita
I
list?
think so. I think we were talking about having a margarita, a crawling.
Although the margaritas are extremely good here and powerful.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, but what about the glass? Are they served in a?
Now you know what? It's a smaller.
Glass?
It's a smaller glass,
all right.
but it was good. But for that reason, I enjoy it. Hacienda San Angel, I love seeing. So that was Richard Burton and Susan Hunt's house. And that house in the evening, if you ever have the opportunity to go there and, go in the evening when the garden and the courtyard is all lit up with candles, it's just gorgeous. It just definitely takes you back to you feel like you're in old world somewhere.
Yeah.
So I really actually enjoy that location for that. And, and the location of La Capella restaurant is just that iconic view. Yeah. Is you just can't beat that view.
I grouped those three restaurants together, and I think a lot of people may know one or two of them, but not all three. And they have different ownership now than in the past. At one point, they were owned by one person. But the way I see it is, if you want to do the celebrity Elizabeth Taylor, you go to Casa Kimberly. There's no doubt about it.
Got it.
If you want to just have a really solid romantic place, Hacienda San Angel is really good.
Really?
If you want a view, and there's always all these posts on Facebook, it's like, where's the best view? One of the best, if not the best, is La Capella restaurant.
And they have a new bar there, so you can just go in. So even if you can't get reservations, you just go into the bar. And you
just get that same view.
Get the view, get some pictures, and it's definitely
very, very lovely.
We've always enjoyed our time there.
So there's wonderful restaurants. I mean, we could spend 3 hours on restaurants.
Very good.
But on the hill, those all are very solid.
Well, everybody wants to know, what's the best one? Because everybody's got at least one romantic night that they're going to have out. And so that's kind of what they want to know.
And we're a little biased to those three because they're literally within less than a 5-minute walk of both the houses that so between the houses, because they're all right there in Gringo Gulch. So it's kind of that's part of the thing we love is not having to get into a car and go someplace. It's just we're on foot. We're already up in the hill.
Exactly right. So you're almost there.
We're almost there. Exactly.
Both occasions, you're both there.
Exactly. Just trip over the cobblestone. We're back at home.
Wow. Anything else going on? Anything else that you want to share with us?
Wow, there's so much going on in Puerto Vallarta. We should do Actually, we should do some video for our YouTube channel here just tonight. Because, Barry, obviously you're part of the scene. You like to observe, but you're actually part of it, right? And what's great is to see all these YouTube channels that are popping up, all these activities that are going on from the girls' school, which that's starting up, and there's some volunteer aspects there, to Ada and Vallarta, who are doing things here. There's just so much happening in Puerto Vallarta year-round, even in the summertime.
Yeah.
It's just really an amazing place to be.
It sure is. It sure is. Well, keep in touch with living simply in Mexico. And, of course, like I said, you'll have all the links there in the show notes. I'll embed that one episode with the different restaurants, as well as the homecoming when the family shows up.
Oh yes.
That one is we developed a new star with that one, and that is Stefan's father. Who people want a spin off of just him. My 82-year-old father-in-law.
Yeah, get hooked up to people here.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We'll hook them up with JR. It'll be a ride.
JR and my dad would be
a
that's a story in
that would be great. You'll have
coming soon to a YouTube channel near you.
Well, thanks, Barry. Thank you for all that you do.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We love staying in touch with Puerto Vallarta when we're not here.
Well, I love what you do, and I know that a lot of people do too. So I want to thank you again for coming down to my meet and greet. It's really nice to see you walk in. I was able to introduce you to my wife. She, finally got a chance to meet you because she knows about you. I told her about you.
Oh, very good.
And so, again, thank you so much for coming on the show, and thanks for letting me reintroduce you to my listeners. I truly appreciate it.
Yes, and everybody should meet JR. Awesome guy.
All right. Thank you so much, Ada and Stefan. Now, if you don't follow their YouTube channel, you really should. They're a very cool couple, and they're really genuine. They're down-to-earth people. They really are. They have great information, and they just love Puerto Vallarta, and so do we. Now, I have links and embeds from their channel in the show notes, and I think, hey, it might be a pretty interesting idea to get JR and Stefan's dad on their own YouTube channel. I mean, what would we call it? Send me an email. What would we call that channel? All right. Now, next we are going to cool off a bit with the best ice cream on the Bay. We're going to go talk with Kathleen and Todd Atkins from Lix Homemade Ice Cream. Now, if you remember last year, I told you about how Lisa and Billy, our friends over at Rise, Rise is Refugio Infantil Santa Esperanza. It is a local orphanage here in Puerto Vallarta. And Billy and Lisa asked me if I would include sponsors to their fundraiser, their talent show. So You Think You Can Rise, if I would include them on the podcast as a bit of a thank you and to get the word out about these special folks who care and who actually dish out money to sponsor important fundraisers like this one, which is a major fundraiser for the kids at Rise. And, of course, I am very happy to bring these people on the show because, as it turns out, these sponsors for the So You Think You Can Rise event have been some of the better interviews that I've had over the years. So as Lisa and Billy at Rise ready themselves for their third big event, let's head on down to Cuatecicuetes for a margarita, a good margarita, by the way, and a little jazz, and let's have a talk with and see what's happening at a cool, cold, sweet little ice cream chain located in our Mexican paradise. So let's talk with Todd and Kathleen Atkins from Lix Homemade Ice Cream in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Todd, Naomi, thanks for coming on the show again.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
Tell us what's going on at Lix.
Well, I mean, we do have our 3 stores, and the original store on the Basilio Badillo in Old Town, Emiliano Zapata, has been there for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
And then we have our
10
kitchen.
years.
10 years. And then we have our kitchen store in Fluvial behind Costco. And we have the other store on the Malecon, which we also sell organic coffees and smoothies and cheesecakes and also Cacao Magico's chocolate.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And he was on your show before with Mitch, yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we have a fun little relationship with Mitch and his dad, Dean, and they're great guys to work with.
And we love the chocolate.
Yeah, the chocolate is absolutely
It's amazing.
fantastic, isn't it? Now, you've got the new place near Costco, which I haven't been to yet. I got to get over there and see it. I've seen pictures of it, but I need to get over there.
Yeah, you need to get over there because there is a big glass wall also between the store and the kitchen itself, and you can see ice cream being made and are set up in there. And
so that's your setup, right? That's where you make the ice cream for
correct.
all the stores?
Yeah, we make all the ice cream there, and we recently purchased a little Volkswagen Caddy van and sent it to Guadalajara and had it insulated and a freezer unit put on top, and so now we have a freezer delivery van.
Oh, wow. How handy is that?
Yeah, it beats the heck out of putting it in the back of our car and driving like crazy people trying to get it there before it defrosts.
I know. Well, I was on my way trying to get down here, and I was going, I'm never going to get here. The traffic was so bad. I can just imagine you guys, with something melting in the back,
I
right?
know. That was a little scary at times.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. So does the van have Lix on the side? Are we going to do that? Are we going to be secret van drivers?
We're kind of secret van drivers because we've been told
don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, it's not good to attract too much attention. So we're trying to be low key.
Yeah.
Plus, if we're not always good drivers, then they'll know.
Then they'll know, and they go, "Oh, it was them. It was the Lix people that cut me off."
I've been accused of not driving fast but flying low. So.
Well, and that's actually a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Any new products that you've got? Any new yummy things that you're selling out of your ice cream shop?
Yes, we have a new flavor. It's vegan and sugar-free. It's chocolate. I'm sorry. Yeah, dairy-free. So it's vegan and sugar-free.
But the vegan part is the dairy.
Is the dairy-free.
No. The vegan part is the what did you say? It's what and what?
Dairy-free.
No.
It's sugar-free.
And dairy-free.
Dairy-free.
Got it. Yeah.
So it technically is vegan as well.
It is vegan.
Right. Because it's dairy-free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's chocolate, Belgian chocolate, with almonds, sea salt, and Belgian chocolate chunks.
Oh.
And it is a big seller already. It's doing very well.
I can see why.
Yeah, it's fun having an option for people that are lactose intolerant. We've always had the sorbets, but this is just something a little more decadent. And there's many people that are trying to go dairy-free or vegan, and so this is a great option for them.
Yeah, I should say. So now, your sorbets, because I never pay attention to your sorbets. I'm just staring at your chocolate and all your ice cream and stuff. What is the difference? What is a sorbet? What is that exactly?
So a sorbet is basically water-based, and ice cream, of course, is milk and cream, whereas the sorbets are water-based and fruit and sugar and a few little secret ingredients to help get it creamy. But yeah, it's all natural product, but there is no milk or cream in it.
Interesting. All right. So now you got two things that have no milk or cream in it. That's really cool. You were talking about popsicles.
Yeah, this coming week we have decided that we've had a lot of requests, especially from the nationals that come in. They used paletas, which is a fancy word for popsicle, and they have a water-based paleta and then they have a milk-based paleta, and so we're trying to do a little bit of both.
Uh-huh.
But we're going to definitely put our spin on it with a more artisan, upscale flavors. Kathleen's come up with some interesting flavors, and it's all in the trial phase right now, but I'm hoping in 2-3 weeks we're going to have them out for sure in the Malecon store, and we'll see where else we have room for them.
Yeah.
Basilio's kind of tight, so yeah.
I bet. So, it must be really cool creating something like that. It is very Mexican, right?
Yes.
And so, how do you go about making the recipe? You've probably eaten a lot of them, right? Just to try them out and see what's going on. And
yes, we do test different ones, but like Todd said, we're trying to come up with our own little twist on it because we are artisan. We do some different types of flavors. So we will see.
Yeah, you'll see. All right, we'll all see. I love your place. I'm always there. So even though I haven't tried your sorbets, I'm going to try your.
You have to try the sorbet. They're actually creamy. You would think it's ice cream, but it isn't.
Yeah. All right, what kind of flavors do you have in the sorbet?
Right now, I believe there's always strawberry, and let me see what else is there right now. There's blackberry Cabernet. We usually have a few more flavors of sorbets at the Malecon, so lime sorbet, and in the summertime we have many more different flavors. Yeah, mango and passion fruit. And
Nice.
So watch out for the blackberry Cabernet, though, because each tub has 3 bottles of blackberry, Cabernet wine in the actual sorbet. So it's not really a kid's flavor, but we have some kids that really enjoy it, and I think their parents enjoy it when they're a little calmer after eating it. So.
Right. Yeah, it's a little downer for the child there. Let's see. Is there anything else at Lix that you wanted to talk about before we move on to another subject here?
I can't think of anything that's really pressing right now that we want to bring up. Just that, check out the Malecon store because we do have the coffee, like Kathleen said, and we make homemade cheesecakes there, and we have Cacao Magico chocolate. And so there's a nice variety, and there's beautiful tables you can sit outside and right on the Malecon and watch everybody walking by and enjoy the view. And so our employees tell us it's the most incredible place to have to go to work and see that view every day.
Yeah, those poor employees.
Yeah.
Having to see the ocean and watch happy people walk by. And
this time of year, we're seeing the whales.
Yeah. All right, so let's leave Lix then for a minute. Kathleen, you've got something going, like a little. I saw something about your psychic abilities.
Oh, okay. Well, it's something that happened here in Puerto Vallarta. I've been studying spirituality and psychic stuff, or that type of topic, for probably 20 years. But when I took a class here with Kennedy Morgan, it was a psychic medium class. Things just kind of opened up for me. And believe me, I'm not the only one. It seems like there's tons of people that in these last couple years have somehow opened up to it. And then in 2021, I had some significant spirits come to me. And I'm like, I don't know why, but, so last year I started studying psychic mediumship more and trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with it. And then this year, in the January, actually, I realized it's something that I need to share. I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but I've added it as a section in my website because I love the creative stuff. So I write stories, I act, we do our own commercials for Lix. I love doing all of that, and now I'm also going to incorporate the psychic medium stuff with it. Maybe I'll act as when I'm a medium. I don't know.
Yeah. You never know, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've got a little work to do then, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I always like having projects, but especially creative projects.
Well, this sounds pretty neat. I kind of like that. Let's talk about your commercials at Lix because I love them. I mean, I know that if I see one come up, I'm going to laugh.
Well, I have to give Kathleen all the credit. She's the creative one, and I just kind of go along to keep the wife happy. So.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say that because what happens is I will come up with an idea, but I'm not the only one. Todd comes up with the ideas as well. I usually write a small script, and we may practice it or we may not, but a lot of times we go off script, but that's what makes it kind of funnier, I think. And then we perform it, and Todd will allow me maybe 4 or 5 takes at the most, which is tough because
You're a little impatient there, Todd?
He's not used to the film industry or
Yeah.
theater
Take
or anything
80.
like that. So I basically get a max of 5 takes, and then I hopefully can pick one from there to work with. And I don't really edit them, other than I might have to crop it.
Yeah.
And because it's a fun commercial.
They're little short takes, and they're really cool. Now, who films them? Do you like set the camera and do that, or what happens?
We usually film them ourselves if it's just in our home, and we'll just film them ourselves on the computer. But we have had a couple commercials that were outside. The last one was outside, and our friend Billy filmed it for us.
Okay, all right.
Billy, who's also in charge of the Rise Children's Orphanage, is a good friend of ours, he and Lisa. And I actually knew Billy before we moved down here. We both worked for, can I say that, Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, of course you could say it, sure.
So I used to own some Dunkin' Donuts, and Billy worked for Dunkin' Donuts. He was operations manager, and so it's kind of funny. We didn't know he was moving down, and then they didn't know we were moving down, and
you look at each other and went, hey! What are you doing here?
Yeah. And they came up with this idea, and it was an idea actually they asked us about a few years ago. Oh, we're thinking about, Lisa was, I think she's the one that came up with that. I'm thinking about a fundraiser for Rise, like a talent show. What do you think? I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And now it's the second year, and it's really getting bigger each year. They're doing great with raising money for the kids, because they do need money all year they house them and pay for everything.
It's really fun for us, too, because we get to be a part of it, and we feel privileged to give back to the community. And you go to the concert, the show, and even the preliminaries and such, and it's like they show all these videos of the kids, and it's like, wow, you really it makes you feel good about giving back to the community, and you realize that you can make a difference, and it really does help.
Yeah, even if it's only, like Lisa says, even if it's only $10 a month and you're giving up one drink, I mean, it makes a big difference in these kids' lives.
It absolutely does. Well, Lisa and Billy took on quite an undertaking last year. That was their first year, and I know that it was a lot of work for them. And I heard that this year they had a coach for them, and so that acting coaches and people that actually help them along. And wow, I mean, and I understand that the group that won was amazing.
They were amazing, and
it was a Mexican singing group.
They were a Mexican group. They played many instruments. They could whistle like birds. I mean, and they're just they are joy. They are total joy. It was just so amazing to watch them. But yeah, there's so many people in this community that came together to help Lisa and Billy, so that we're professionals in those fields that could help them with, like Al Carswell, like directing, and all the coaches for the groups, and the judges, and the theaters, allowing them to perform in the theaters, and then the winner can perform in one of the theaters. So it's just so many people in this community came together for that. It's really a great thing.
Heartwarming, really?
Yeah, very heartwarming.
Amazing, just amazing. Let's see, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think, I would just say we're so happy and so thankful that the people are coming back. We're seeing, this year, even over last year, we're seeing 50% increase in tourism, and it's just nice to see people coming back, and we thank everybody for being here. It makes such a difference, not only to us, but our employees. You don't realize that by coming here and enjoying yourselves, but you're spending your dollars and really making a difference in the locals and the local economy. And we appreciate the giving back and the warmth that the people here show to the tourists. And thank you for everybody for coming, and we're just happy to be a part of all that.
Yeah, it's nice to see people are back and not afraid anymore. It's nice. It's really nice. Let's take a walk from Lix, and let's go over to let's talk about food, okay? Because there's some new restaurants out there, and I'm not going to ask you what your favorite one is, because I know what happens. What happens is your other favorite restaurant pops in your mind 5 days later, and the guy says to you, "So, Todd, what did you say? What did you say?" So, what's going on in the food world here?
The food world here is just amazing. I mean, you can almost throw a rock in any direction and hit an amazing restaurant here, as you well know, and so it's really hard to narrow it down. But there are a few new restaurants that we really enjoy. One of them is Judy's Diner. It's
right in our neighborhood. That's one of the reasons we
it's
love
really
it.
close,
and the food is amazing.
Well, okay. So where is Judy's
It's
Diner?
right on the highway in Amapas. And
wait a minute. That's where Whiskey Kitchen used to be. That's where it is, right? Okay.
Yeah. Whiskey Kitchen is still out in Versailles, and they have an amazing location out there. But now she's focusing on that, and now Judy's Diner is in that location, and
so it's diner food.
Diner style food, Southern comfort. Their macaroni and cheese, I'm a sucker for.
Oh, really?
So it's got macaroni and cheese with fried chicken on top. Oh my gosh! Yeah, I just
stop.
It comes with a free angioplasty when you're done. So
right.
Yeah.
No, that's all health food. It's all good.
Right.
Just remember, everybody, when you come south of the border, all the calories are gone.
They're all gone.
Eat as much as you want.
Right. Just sweat it off. That's how it's done here.
And I would say the taco stands. Well, my nephew was here for the first time recently with his girlfriend, and I didn't realize how much they love tacos. I would have sent them on a taco tour. But also, so the taco stands and up to fine dining and everything in between. And one of the restaurants we took them to was Hacienda San Daniel for the Sunday brunch. And they were amazed. They were thrilled at how it was beautiful. And then a violin player, the food and the ambiance. And it's just, and because it was the whole Richard Burton thing, to me is just romantic and seems so Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah. And the food was good, huh?
Excellent. I have to say, one of my favorite go-to places now is Mezcal and Sal.
Oh, okay. Now,
have you been there?
That. No, I have not.
Come
on! Don't do that to me. Now
the artistic presentation alone of their drinks is off the charts, and the food is amazing. It's great. It's almost like tapas style, where you can order a bunch of little appetizers and share with your friends, and have some drinks that are. I usually just get the chef's surprise drink, and they'll just make up whatever they want to make.
Right.
And it's on the menu. I forget what they call it, but they have a chef's surprise drink, and
then you're going to go for it, huh?
No
matter what. Obviously, you don't have any particular kind of liquor that you are adverse to. Then is that what you're trying to say?
I'm an equal opportunity offender.
Okay.
And,
I mean, we all have at least one that we got so sick on that we don't even look at anymore. Come on, you don't have one of those, Todd?
I honestly can say I've been drunk less than 5 times in my entire life.
That's why.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why everybody ding ding ding.
And I'm allergic, so I've got that Japanese gene that can't drink alcohol.
Oh, look at that. Okay,
she's my designated driver.
Okay, right. Yeah. Don't slip me anything with rum in it. That's all I can tell you. Okay.
And I will also say that the good thing that happened with COVID is some of the restaurants started delivering, which we love. I mean, so our favorite delivery restaurant is Siam. They deliver. We love Asian food, along with many other, but that's our go-to for ordering, and it's our comfort food. We always, I don't know why, but when I just feel I wanted to be comforting, I order Siam or want good food. Yeah. We also love Bonito Kitchen. It's one of our favorites because of the different Asian fusion and her homemade lemonade and Barcelona tapas, and there's so many.
Yeah, there are, aren't there?
Yeah.
But I like that you're bringing me into some of these newer ones because I unless I'm told, I really have a hard time with that stuff. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, Puerto Vallarta is definitely a foodie city, and anybody that even remotely thinks that they are a foodie, come here and just throw caution to the wind and try street tacos. Try that bar around the corner. Try that La Fiamma's out in Versailles. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many places that you need to go and just to try.
And Divino Dante at Galleria Dante. I mean, that was a hacienda that they used to live in, and just the plants and the art and the wine. I mean, it's a beautiful.
I got to get in there, and I got to talk to them.
You have to go there. Yes, talk to them. I think they've been here 40 years ish.
Oh well, then I guess they'll be around. I guess I should go right away.
Yeah.
Wow, they've been there 40 years?
I think that Claire's been here around 40 years. Yeah, and they used to have the Papa Don's pizza. No, not Papa Don's. What's it called? Oh, Joe's Pizza. Joe's Pizza. Well, Papa Don's is another good pizza place, which is out by the stadium.
Really? Is that one of your favorite pizza places?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Papa Don's. What's so good about Papa Don's?
The crust is amazing.
And the sausage.
Well, you're from Chicago, right? So you guys, you're pizza pros, right?
Yeah,
Yes, I guess I'm a pizza pro. I don't know. To me, it's a great pizza. It's basically out of their garage that they're cooking it. And Don is from Iowa, and his wife is from Puerto Vallarta. And they used to have many restaurants, and they just decided to close them down and just focus on one and slow down and enjoy life a little more. And but they gear towards the locals in the neighborhood. So they'll sell a slice, I think, for 5 or 6 pesos. And yeah,
wow, that's so cool.
Don't quote me on the price, but it's ridiculously cheap.
Yeah.
And it's great. I love the crust.
Okay, now where is it again?
It's just on the east side of the ball field stadium area.
Uh-huh.
And just look up Papa Don's Pizza.
Papa Don's Pizza. Yeah, use Google. Yeah. That's how you got to do it.
Yeah. We have started playing pickleball lately, and we've become obsessed with that. And
now I saw that over at Cacao Magico, they had set up a pickleball kind of an area there.
Upstairs, they're playing pickleball now at the Puerto Magico. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing or temporary.
No. I talked to Dean. He says no, not when we lease it. It's gone. That's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because right now the Perota Center, where they're normally playing pickleball in that area, is shut down because they have a big tennis tournament coming to town. It starts, I believe, today or tomorrow, and it lasts for about 2 weeks. And it's a professional tennis tournament. So they were setting up stands around the courts, and the tennis courts are also used for pickleball. So there's some other temporary courts.
So that's out near the Sheraton?
It's closer to Isla Mall. Oh, it's close to Los Tulas.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Right across the street from Los Tulas and Plaza Caracol. And
Right. So I know that pickleball is really, really popular. It's just obviously just taken right off. How do you accommodate all these people,
It's crazy. I actually played in a tournament a couple of weeks ago up in Nuevo. And the nice thing with pickleball is they have different categories for ability that you can get rated at, and also age brackets. So when you get a big tournament, you can play in your age bracket and also your ability. I played up a level in ability and got killed, but it was okay because it was good practice, good fun. But I found just up in Bucerias area and in Nuevo, there's over 700 people that play pickleball.
Yeah.
This time of year.
Where do they play? That's the question, right?
Puerto Vallarta too. They were playing at Melia, but I think they lost the lease or something, so they can't play there anymore. There were tons of people that would play there several times a week and at the Perota Club. There was also a tournament about a month or two ago that Todd and I were in together, and 2 12-year-old boys beat us. So we're not that good, but we enjoy playing.
It's a real ego buster when you get beat by 2 12-year-olds. Let me tell you.
Oh man! Did you card them though? Sometimes they, they're a little older than they say they are. No. At least they weren't wearing diapers. It's good news. It's good news.
Well, some of us older folks are, but
yeah. Well, I didn't want to go there. It kind of ruins the look of your shorts. So I try to avoid those myself.
Yeah, pickleball, especially in the wintertime, is just huge here. We actually just started playing in the summertime, and there was very few people in town, but we got a lot of playing time in because of that.
But it's hotter than hell, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you sweat like a pregnant nun in church when you're out there.
Uh-huh. That's right. There you go. All right, what else? What else do we want to talk about?
Yeah, but we would like to start traveling within Mexico more.
Yeah.
Now that things are getting settled down, we're actually empowering our staff more, and so we're actually trying to step away more and let them make decisions on running the business. And it feels good to put them in charge, and they appreciate it. Of course, they're making more money by doing that, and it really makes a difference in their life as well. They feel more responsible and more ownership because of us stepping away and us trusting them to take care of things. Just like the other day, the electricity went out on Basilio. I don't know if you noticed all the construction and stuff over there again, but the power went out for an entire night. And Claudia, our manager at the store, said, listen, the power's out. I'm going to go get the van, the freezer van, load everything up, take it back to the kitchen, and in the morning I'll bring it back. And we're like, wow, great, and she did, and we went to sleep, and it's like good old folks should. It's all taken care of.
Awesome. We're finally semi-retired, what we had originally planned. It took a while, but we're really getting there, and we even want to step away more, and that's why I have more time to work on my website and stories and our commercials. We need to do more of those commercials.
Oh, yeah, you do. We love them. We love them. Well, you are very fortunate to actually have a staff like that.
We're very, very thankful and grateful to our staff. Claudia, Itzel, Emma, and Ellie, who actually runs the kitchen now. We couldn't be more thankful, and we actually think of them as our family. They're not employees. They're our family, and they're continuing the tradition, and they understand the quality and the importance of quality, and they're pushing and striving to maintain that.
Yeah, and we've given them some ownership as well, because we really want them to feel like this is theirs too. So
right.
Their future.
Yeah, that's their future.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Well, all right. Before we say goodbye, tell everybody again where all your locations are.
We have our original store in Emiliana Zapata, Old Town. It's on Basilio Badillo. We have our kitchen store right behind Costco. If you look, if you're walking into Costco, you'll see it's kind of right behind it on the right side.
Oh, cool.
And then our third store on the Malecon is under the Juarez parking garage. So it's right over like if you're in Old Town and you walk over the bridge, it's right there on the right. And the addresses for them is on our website, lix-pv.com. It's on the bottom of our website.
Very good. And, go to Facebook, follow Lix if you aren't already, and check out their wacky commercials. You will love them. You will love them. And you will get to meet Todd and Kathleen a little bit more personally, because they're a little wacky. I mean, they're like me. They're a little wacky. But they're incredible people. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for letting me introduce you again to my audience. It's been a couple of years now since we've talked, so I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks so much, Barry. We appreciate it.
Always fun to see you.
All right. Thank you so much, Todd and Kathleen. What a great couple. It's great to have you back on the show, and really good to catch up with you and see what's happening and what's new. And by the way, that gentleman that they were talking about who helped some of the So You Think You Can Rise contestants prepare for the competition, they were talking about Alan Carswell. Alan is a very interesting person. I had a great conversation with Alan a couple of months back, and I will be having Alan on the show real soon. Once again, a real treat, and once again, a sponsor for the So You Think You Can Rise event. Amazing, amazing. Anyway, thank you so much, Kathleen and Todd, for talking with us and for all that you do to support the local Vallarta charities. It's just so cool to see that. But hey, we're talking ice cream, right? All right, well, that should do it for this week. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. Reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else. So do it, really. And when you do take one of these tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget his maps, his DIY tours, and I have links to all of them in the show notes. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe and follow and share with a lover of Puerto Vallarta, or give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have the links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures, and more right there in my blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? All right. Well, thank you so much to all of our friends who visited us over at the 4th of July meet and greet. We're at our open microphone podcast at Restaurant San Lucas. And thanks to the folks over at Restaurant San Lucas. And Daniel, you too, buddy. Thanks to Ada and Stefan for coming down the hill and joining us, filling us in on what's happening with you and your YouTube channel, Living Simply in Mexico. Remember to follow and subscribe to their content. And thank you, Kathleen and Todd Atkins from Lix Homemade Ice Cream, our favorite ice cream parlor in Puerto Vallarta. Remember, they have 3 locations all around town, and I have links and maps in the show notes, which you can find, of course, at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for how you help our community in Puerto Vallarta, Todd and Kathleen. And thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for you all to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Solo camino, perno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río, cuando todo está en calma, pronto cae la noche, me brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta.